10 Tips for Effective Classroom Management. Hey there teachers, welcome to our channel. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important aspects of teaching, classroom management. As we all know, effective classroom management is essential for creating a positive and productive learning environment for students. In this video, we'll be sharing with you 10 tips for effective classroom management that you can start implementing today. 1. Set clear expectations. Setting clear expectations for your students from the beginning is an important step towards effective classroom management. When students know what is expected of them, they are more likely to comply with the rules and regulations of the classroom. The following are some ways to set clear expectations for your students. 1. Classroom rules. Start by creating a set of classroom rules that are specific, clear, and concise. 1. Explain to your students why these rules are important and what the consequences are for breaking them. 1. Make sure to display the rules in a visible location in the classroom and refer to them regularly. 2. Academic expectations. In addition to classroom rules, it's important to set academic expectations for your students. 2. Let them know what they will be learning throughout the year, what skills they will be developing, and what assessments they will be taking. 2. Be specific and clear about your expectations, and provide students with resources and support to help them meet those expectations. 3. Behavioral expectations. Along with academic expectations, it's important to set behavioral expectations for your students. 3. Explain to them what behaviors are appropriate and what behaviors are not. 3. Be specific about what consequences will be imposed if a student breaks a behavioral expectation. 4. Communicate with parents. Communicate the expectations you have for your students to their parents. 4. This can be done through a parent-teacher conference, a newsletter, or a website. 4. Encourage parents to reinforce these expectations at home, which will create consistency between home and school. 5. Model expectations. As a teacher, you are a role model for your students. 5. Model the behavior you expect from them. 5. If you expect your students to be respectful, kind, and responsible, then you need to model those behaviors in your interactions with them. Build relationships. Building positive relationships with your students is a crucial component of effective classroom management. When students feel like they have a relationship with their teacher, they are more likely to be engaged, motivated, and respectful in the classroom. There are a few strategies that can help you build positive relationships with your students. Get to know your students. Make an effort to learn about your students' interests, hobbies, and backgrounds. You can do this through surveys, icebreakers, or one-on-one conversations. When you show an interest in your students' lives outside of the classroom, it sends a message that you care about them as individuals, not just as students. Show empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. When you show empathy towards your students, you create a safe and supportive classroom environment. If a student is having a tough day, take the time to listen to them and offer support. This can be as simple as saying, "I'm sorry you're having a tough day, is there anything I can do to help?" Use positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is a powerful tool for building relationships with your students. When you praise your students for their hard work or good behavior, it shows them that you notice and appreciate their efforts. You can use verbal praise, written notes, or small rewards like stickers or pencils. Be approachable. Make sure your students feel comfortable approaching you with questions or concerns. If a student is struggling with an assignment, make yourself available to help them. If a student has a personal problem they want to discuss, be a good listener and offer support. Communicate effectively. Effective communication is essential for building positive relationships with your students. Make sure you're using clear and concise language when giving instructions or feedback. Use active listening skills to show your students that you are truly hearing what they are saying. Be consistent. Being consistent in enforcing rules is crucial to maintaining a positive and productive classroom environment. Students need to know that the rules are fair and apply to everyone equally. If students feel like the rules are being enforced inconsistently or unfairly, they will become frustrated and less likely to follow the rules themselves. To ensure consistency, it's important to establish clear consequences for breaking the rules. This could be anything from a verbal warning to a timeout to a more serious consequence like a referral to the principal's office. Make sure your consequences are age-appropriate and fit the severity of the behavior. It's also important to follow through on consequences consistently. If a student breaks a rule and receives a consequence, make sure you follow through with it every time. If you let a student off the hook once, they will be more likely to break the rules again in the future. Consistency also means being consistent in your own behavior. Make sure you're modeling the behavior you expect from your students. If you're asking students to raise their hands before speaking, make sure you're doing the same. If you're asking students to be respectful to each other, make sure you're modeling respect in your own interactions with students. Use positive reinforcement. Instead of just focusing on punishment for bad behavior, make sure you're also using positive reinforcement for good behavior. This can include things like praise, rewards, and positive feedback. 1. Be organized. An organized classroom can go a long way in terms of effective classroom management. 1. Make sure your classroom is set up in a way that makes sense for your teaching style and the needs of your students. 2. Keep students engaged. One of the best ways to prevent misbehavior is to keep students engaged in the lesson. 2. Use a variety of teaching strategies to keep things interesting and make sure you're checking in with students to make sure they're understanding the material. 3. Address misbehavior proactively. When you see a student misbehaving, don't wait for it to escalate. 3. Address the behavior proactively and use it as a teaching moment to reinforce your expectations. 4. Use non-verbal cues. Non-verbal cues can be a powerful tool for classroom management. 4. These can include things like eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures. 5. Seek professional development. Effective classroom management is a skill that can be developed over time. 5. Seek out professional development opportunities to improve your skills in this area. 6. Be patient. Finally, be patient with yourself and your students.